Alrighty, guys, y'all know what time it is. Y'all know what time it is. Welcome back. Today we are doing a review of the movie Beauty and the Beast. Okay, Christmas tree in the background. Y'all know. Y'all know. And I have to tell you before we get started, because I know somebody's going to comment and be all like, "What in the world, girl? It is going on April." I have children. Okay, I have two little kids. One of my children is on the autism spectrum. And as I was preparing to take down my tree, because I did keep it up longer than I typically do, um, my daughter came to me and asked me not to take it down. She said, "Mommy, I really like the tree. Can we keep it up?" And guys, at the end of the day, it's an artificial tree. I have young children, and for my daughter, it gives her a sense of peace that it's on, and with the lights on it, it is almost acts like a nightlight down here. Okay, and so I was like, you know what? Yeah, we'll keep it up. So guess what, guys? Y'all gonna be seeing some videos even into June and into August, and that Christmas tree is still probably gonna be up. Okay, because at the end of the day, it's all good. It's not a life or death issue. Makes the babies happy. Christmas tree is up. All right, guys. So let's start with the overview of the story. Okay, Beauty and the Beast, it is a love story. It is not a mushy love story, but it does look at how society views both beauty and love and who is capable of loving, and also what is the ideal form of beauty. And in not just in the society of this make believe world, but even in real life, that is something that is always kind of on the forefront in terms of body image, in terms of what is appealing, in terms of physical features and characteristics, what is appealing. And that's kind of a brief overview of what this movie is about. Now, they do make some story changes to this movie from the original, and I'll talk about that kind of later. The two biggest story changes that they go into is the development of Gaston's friend and sidekick LeFou, and it also talks about the history of Belle's mother, which is not talked about in the original movie. Now, I'm not going to tell you what happens, but some of the changes that they made, I enjoyed. Some of the changes that they made, I did not personally enjoy. Okay, so looking at the casting, there were several surprises that I was not aware would be starring in this movie. I knew about Emma Watson, obviously playing the lead role. I did not realize that Kevin Kline would be playing her father, Maurice. And also there are, I guess you could say, guest appearances. Emma Thompson plays Mrs. Potts. Ian McKellen plays Cogsworth. Ewan McGregor plays Lemure, the candelabra. And so that was kind of nice to see. I have no idea who Luke Evans is other than the character that he plays, which is Gaston. But I have to tell you, his portrayal of Gaston to me was the highlight of the movie. And then we also have Josh Gad, who plays LeFou's character. Okay. And so as an ensemble, in terms of the acting, I thought everybody did a good job with the acting. Kevin Kline's portrayal of Maurice was a lot more mature character. The original adaptation of Maurice was a very bumbling, kind of idiot um, character, but in the live action, there is a maturity to his character. There is a darkness, but a sadness to his character, as if his character has just been through a lot in life and it has worn him down physically. But I enjoyed that mature aspect to how he is portrayed on the screen in the live action. Um, the gentleman that plays Gaston, Luke Evans, to me did a phenomenal job. I think between the way he looked, the way he is styled, his singing, the acting, the nuances that he brought to the character, I think was top notch. Now, with Josh Gad, who plays LeFou, he also brought a more maturity to the role, but I have to tell you guys, I was not a fan of the changes that they made to his character. I believe that the changes to his character, one, was unnecessary, and not just from a purist standpoint, from the original movie to the current movie. I thought it was unnecessary, but just in terms of, this is a children's film, and I did not believe that it was an appropriate change, and it did not add anything of substance to the movie, guys. It was, not only did it not add anything of substance, but I feel like the way that his character was written and portrayed on screen was such a stereotypical way that it cheapened it cheapened that role, unfortunately, for me, you know. And they could have done so much more. They went into Belle's backstory, with her history, her father's history, and the history of her mother. And I really wish that they had, instead of just saying, hey, we're going to make this particular character gay, woohoo, token gay person, that they really would have gone in depth in terms of the nature of Gaston and LeFou's friendship and how it developed over time to get to where it was. So to me, they wasted a lot of energy in this stereotypical, character traits, where they really could have put their energy in quality story development. And it just wasn't necessary at the end of the day. It just was not necessary. It did not add anything of depth to the character. Okay? You take it for what it is. You're here to hear my opinion, and I'm giving it to you. Inappropriate and a waste of time. Okay. Now, if you want to look at the artistry in the movie, the animation, the set design, the costume design, I was not a fan of the animation, how the secondary characters, Mrs. Pot, Cogsworth, Lemieux, the garderobe, I can't think of the name of the young lady that plays the feather duster, but I honestly did not enjoy the CGI in this movie. In terms of those secondary characters, it felt very cheap. Um, it felt like an overseas knockoff, to be quite honest. I would have rather watched the 1991 original cartoon drawing of those characters as opposed to watching, to me, the poor CGI versions of those characters. You know, it just felt cheap. It just felt cheap. And as cheap as the animation felt, the set design, the physical sets were gorgeous. And that's what kind of frustrated me. The castle and the dark heaviness of the architectural elements of the castle were beautiful. The town, I would want to live in that town. It was so welcoming artistically. Even how they did the sky and the setting with the forest leading up to the castle, the set design was gorgeous. And then you have the animation, and it's like, no. And And that's kind of how I felt throughout the whole movie. Like there were so many good parts, but the parts that weren't good just brought everything down. Um, the costumes were gorgeous. They were really, really nice, and I love the subtle details in the costumes. I love to sew. If you guys follow me, you guys know I love to sew. And when I see the button details in Lemur's, jacket, it's the little things like that. The tassel detail on Cogsworth's shoulder lapel. I love it. And so it's like they put so much effort into the costume and the sets, and then it kind of fell short with the animation. But with all that being said, the acting was good, but let's remember at the end of the day, it's a musical. And the singing, guys, the singing, okay? So they did introduce two new songs, at least two from my memory, and I'm glad they did because I believe they helped to develop the story more. So I'm really glad that they added those songs. The singing as a whole was really nice. I love music. Audra McDonald, who plays the garderobe, that girl, baby girl can sing. She got some lungs on her. Did an amazing job. Gaston did a great job. Luke Evans, who plays Gaston, did a great job. Even Josh Gad did a great job with his character. I think the one thing that kind of, it really didn't bring the singing down, but this was Emma Watson's, I believe this is her first role singing, and so she did take voice lessons ahead of time, and she has a really nice voice. It's a really soft voice, a very beautiful voice, but when you hear her voice next to the ensemble cast who have a lengthy experience in singing, you can tell very, very obvious who's a professional singer and who is not a professional singer. And in that regards, I probably would not have casted her in that role because it is such a voice heavy role, or casted her but had someone do the singing for her and let her lip sync over top of it. Because when the ensemble is singing together with her, it is very obvious that she is not a professional singer. And that's not taking anything away from her acting. I love her acting. She's a beautiful young lady. Her voice just is not as strong. And so I would give the singing an A, but because of that, I would not give it an A plus. So, what we're going to do right now is look at my final views on this movie. All right. So, you heard what I had to say about the casting, about the controversy, about the music, about the sets and the costumes and the animation. Okay. And in all, I have to tell you, I enjoyed the movie, but I left feeling like, man, that was not as good as I anticipated it to be. And I also left feeling like I would have rather have spent my money to see a re-release of the original movie. For all the good things that I had to say about the movie, there were a couple not so great things that really brought it down for me. And so I know many people are going to disagree. Okay, and I'll show you my scores, my grading after this section is done. But I left that movie. Not only did I leave the movie feeling that, man, I wish I was really watching the 1991 original, but all throughout the movie, I kept feeling like, this is not as good as the original. This is not as good as the original. Man, I really wish I was watching the original. Guys, and I know that it's not Disney's intent. I don't think there's any movie maker's intent is to, develop a project that's where people watch it and they're like, man, I wish I was watching something else instead of this. That's not their intent, but that is my opinion, okay? I really was not blown away 100%. And I was expecting to be blown away. Based on what I've heard other people say, they're like, oh, I love it. It's a great movie. It's fantastic. And I'm like, that's really nice. Oh, that's really nice. Okay, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Okay, that part's good. That part, and that is kind of how I sat through that whole movie, guys. I have to tell you, it's kind of how I sat through that whole movie. So you'll see my grades. I give it a B minus, and I will show you how I break down, my scores. But I give it a B minus. Would I see the movie again, guys? If I had to. All right, guys. So I'm putting my autism spectrum cap on. Y'all know I never take it off, but Now, how do I feel about this movie as a spectrum parent? Okay, and I have to tell you, just based on the violence that's in this movie, the violence alone was enough for me to say this is not the movie for my child. Now, I have a young child. She is 7. She is on the autism spectrum, for those who do not know. Okay. And so for her, she takes everything literal. Everything. So when there is realistic violence, whether it's gore, whether it's, hatred or gun violence, for her to be able to process that and to differentiate between this is just pretend versus this is what's actually happening in life out on the streets, she can't do that. Okay. And so for the violence alone, it is too much for her. And I have to say no. Okay. I have to say no in that regards. Now, and that's before even addressing the issue of the homosexuality, okay, and LeFou's character. The violence alone was enough for me to say no, without even having to address LeFou's character. So, if the violence is not an issue with you as a parent, that is your choice. If the homosexuality is an issue for you as a parent, and you either do not feel like you can address that topic with your children, or you do not desire to address that topic with your children, this is not the movie for you. Okay? It's not the movie for you. And while it's not, two men hugging and kissing all over each other, it's not hidden. I mentioned that before. Okay? Now, it's not all kind of in your face, but it's there, guys. Unless you're going to be peeking like this, you're going to see it. And if you don't want your children to see, granted, I feel like a lot of it is very stereotypical characteristics, and not in a good way, of what people think of people who are gay. It's to say, is it done tastefully? I personally would not use tasteful, but it's there, and it's the winkies, that all that is unnecessary. It's unnecessary. But if it does not bother you and your family, then go ahead
and watch it. If it bothers you and your family and you don't want to have those discussions with your children, or you don't know how to have those discussions, or why is this boy character and this other boy character have the relationship that they have, if you're not ready for it, don't watch the movie, guys. Okay? For us, it's not necessarily an issue of not having that conversation with our daughter. It would be a very difficult conversation to have with her, just in terms of how do you break it down for a child with very limited understanding. How do you make her understand when her comprehension is already limited? So that would be difficult for us, because that's just where the challenges are, in our family. But like I said before, the violence alone was enough for me to say no. No. Now, there is a lot of loud sounds, guys. A lot of loud sounds. So y'all know I'm going to tell you to bring your noise-canceling earphones with you. Okay? If your kids don't like gore, y'all going to be, peeking through fingers. Okay? Because there's some gore in it. You have to not just pick and choose your battles, but figure out, what's important for you guys as a family. And for us, not introducing that violence to a young child that cannot differentiate between real and imaginary. Not introducing that to her is important, until she is able to understand. Okay? And so that's kind of, what I have to say. I know she would love the dancing. She would love the costuming, but that's not enough for me to say yes. It's not enough for me to say yes to the movie for her. Maybe in a few years, we'll revisit. But for right now, no.